Hey everyone, so it has been 3 days since my last video, and you can see the last time I made this video, Bitcoin was rejected from just shy of $80,000, but it was still holding the trend line as we were grinding sideways. We had only just turned the daily swing chart down. So I thought I'd push out an update today after the recent price action where we've seen a little bit of a sell-off across the lower term timeframes. Now on the monthly time frame, nothing has changed. We're still above the macro 50% from the bear market low to the current all-time high. The monthly BX trender, unless we see a major sell-off in the Wednesday stock market session for the US, and possibly the Thursday stock market session as well, then I really doubt our monthly BX trender is going to close a lower low. I'm not sure exactly what price it has to close below for it to be dark red. I could do a bit of calculating and get back to you on that, but I will not make you sit through that painful mathsy AI coding bit. On the weekly time frame, you can see we got our 6 light green weeks up. Currently, this week is also light green, the 7th week, but you can see it is selling off. And I am thinking that we could potentially come down underneath last week's open, which is also the bar low, as last week literally just pushed straight up, and potentially turn the weekly swing chart down, and that would line up pretty well with my roadmap that I've talked about and done a rough little sketch in black for everyone. Now on the daily time frame, you can see we have broken that trend line since the 4th time breakout on the 5th of April at just under $67,000. Now that we do still have this trend line here that is currently at around $75,000, and that is joined from the 6th of February low to the 8th of March low, which we kind of respected when we broke down on the 26th of March, and took us 3 attempts to break back out, the 1st of April, 6th of April, and the 7th of April. We broke out, sort of backtested it as support, and held it as support on the 20th of April, when we had that Iran flip-flop news whatever thing. And you can just see when 2 trend lines converge, you see some really strong support. Now, we have seen a outside bar on the 27th of April where, depending on exactly which chart you look at, we either made a double top, a slightly lower high, or a slightly higher high. Now, the variation is literally around $90 to $100 per Bitcoin on most exchanges. So in my opinion, it's a double top, but it is going to vary depending on exactly which chart you look at. Now, I'm just going to have to redraw this 50% tool quickly because we did make a higher high, and we had a very weak move up on the 4-hour time frame. I was talking in the Discord that this move here just looked very, very weak compared to the previous pushes up when we bounced off this trend line. This bounce here was just very weak. And technically, on the Coinbase chart, it isn't a wave 5 because I don't think we broke above that high. I think we came, like $60 short or something like that. But on many charts, including the Binance chart, it is a valid wave 5 count because we did actually exceed that high. And as such, we're on track for a correction. I do believe this, if we look at the 4-hour time frame, this is probably going to be a ABC correction. If we look on the daily time frame, it's probably going to end up being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just because on the daily time frame, I'm seeing this entire move up as a correctory rally, where we've seen, if I draw a Elliott wave, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I draw a rough ABC, we've seen a rough ABC. And you can tell, if you ignore my 3 million lines on my chart, that is an ABC, because that move from the 60k low to the 76k top, if I can find my trend line, that move is pretty balanced with this move here, where from the 65k low, we didn't quite get to 81,000, but we got pretty close. So in my opinion, it's a valid ABC, especially because we're now breaking down from the trend lines. And because that was an ABC, and we're treating this entire decline here as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we've probably got a major wave 5 down to go. Now, if you've been keeping up with my videos recently, you'll know exactly what I am talking about there. But if not, don't worry. On the 4-hour time frame right here, okay, I just said don't worry and move straight on, but if you watch enough of my videos, you will start to understand Elliott wave theory, and obviously you can go and do your own study on that. Now, on the 4-hour time frame, if you look at my second trend line, which is drawn from the first low, the 66k low, to this second low, I believe. No, sorry. Is that right? Yes, that is correct. And from this low here at 66k to this low here at 68k, price is currently reacting to this trend line. However, this has been a pitiful bounce. And if you've been watching the US stock market, watching AMD and all those tech stocks just sell away after pumping like 20-something% in the last 2 weeks or more, AMD is up like 60%, but the tech stocks have been weak, and obviously Bitcoin has also been weak in the Tuesday stock market session in the US. Now, the 33 fair value band has turned red, and it hasn't immediately flipped back to green, and because price hasn't managed to break back above it. So I'm just going to go with the trend, and I do believe this trend line is going to break, and we're going to test the -1 standard deviation band, as I do believe something like this is going to happen. We're going to get a bit of a downwards grinding action where price goes between fair value and the -1 standard deviation band. Obviously, the 4-hour 1-bar, 2-bar, and 3-bar trends are down. The daily 1-bar trend is now neutral, which increases the chance, because all our 4-hour trends are down, that the 4-hour 1-bar and hence the 1-day 1-bar and probably the 2-bar and 3-bar are also going to turn down. Now, where am I looking for support if we do bust through this trend line right here, as well as this trend line here? Well, I do believe if we do manage to break these two trend lines, the next logical place to look for support is around $72,000, because it's a 382 Fibonacci retracement, and it would line up pretty well, assuming we take 2 or 3 days to get down there rather than just we get a single day flush, with this trend line here, which is our first 3 lows of this consolidation, the 60k, the 62k, and the 63k low, which you can see if we zoom into this little bit here, we respect it as support and resistance. So if we manage to break below that, we do have a point of control at 70,700, which is only just underneath the trend line. That also lines up pretty well with the 50-day TMA at 70,900 and the 50% level at $69,800. So roughly that 70 to 72k level, I'd be expecting some sort of a rejection in the move down. So potentially if we get something like a 1, 2, 3, where's wave 3 gonna go? Maybe this wave 3, ends up being a rather small wave, and we get something that looks like this, where if you've been keeping up with Jason's latest videos, he is saying that because the lows for this consolidation have been trending higher, we should expect some support at a higher price, potentially $65,000 to $67,000 for a bit. Maybe, you know, price chops sideways for a while. And then we get the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, which would probably take us to very close to our next our bear market low, because obviously if we think of the next weekly move down as our weekly move 5, that's going to be broken up into 5 daily waves, and those 5 daily waves can probably be broken into 5 4-hour waves as well, where in the daily wave 1, we might get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously, it's potentially not this long, because if it were this long, prices would probably go below $40,000. So I've just drawn a really rough wave count. Not exactly sure where I'm going, because again, this is just pure speculation, which is why I don't really like price targets and all that sort of stuff, because at the end of the day, you just gotta go with the trend. Like, everyone was saying, you know, price was gonna pop into the $80,000 range, and Bitcoin goes, nope. You gotta respect that double top, you gotta respect the swing direction change and the trend line break, regardless of what price targets you are thinking of. Looking at the USDT dominance, you can see we are in that oversold territory. The weekly BX trender has been red for many, many weeks. Stochastic RSI is approaching 0, and we've moved into 33 fair value band support, and it looks like this week so far, we've gotten a pretty nice bounce off of it. Now, quick look at the US dollar, you can see we're holding up at weekly support. The monthly BX trender is light green, which means we probably are going to go on another move up. I'm watching 102 for resistance, because this +1 standard deviation band has served as pretty good resistance since we printed our major top in October of 2022. So maybe we get a bit of a suckers rally and then the US dollar collapses. Who knows? But US dollar that is holding support is probably not great for crypto, tech stocks, etc. Moving higher. Now, if we have a quick look at market data, fear and greed is back into fear. You can see we printed a nice double top on fear and greed as well. I don't think that actually lines up with the price double top. We had 17, 27, 22. Never mind, it lines up very well with the price double top. And not much to say about that. Daily exchange volume, you can see we've just been making lower highs and probably lower lows. So as Michael always says, don't trust low volume rallies. Bitcoin FOMO Finder is still in panic. Now, for a bear market low to form, I am looking for some sort of capitulation where the FOMO Finder goes into this -3 territory, the pink. What catalyst it ends up being, you know, is anybody's guess, but I'm just not going to speculate. You can see on the monthly cryptocurrency max pain liquidation, we have a long max pain level at around $73,100, and that lines up pretty well with just breaking underneath this previous daily swing low. So maybe price comes down. If we can breach that 73K level, and get closes and lower highs underneath it, then this monthly max pain level is just going to keep dropping. And obviously, I would expect a major reversal when price fails to hit that max pain level for, I would say, consecutive days on end, and bonus points if it's a failed, if we get a second failed swing into it, which is kind of what happened here. We had 78.6, I believe, and price couldn't manage to tap that level. We stopped at like 78.5 dead. I think it was 78.8 at one point, which obviously we didn't hit either. So just keep an eye on that as to where we can expect a bit of a relief bounce. Now, I did a little back testing, and when we see this major rally in the consolidation range fail and price breaks under the trend line, you typically see a big flush out, and then you see a rally which is like 5 to 7-ish%. You can see here we had 87 to around 91k, then 86 to 90k, whilst we saw roughly 99 to 107k there. So if we do get some trendline breakdowns and we bounce off the 50% level, say 70k, we could rally, to 75, 76k, test the trend line from the underside and then capitulate. Or for a weaker market, maybe we take out all these lows. We come to like 63, 64k, bounce to 70k or 69k, the 50% level, and then roll over. Don't want to speculate too much, one step at a time. Now, if we have a look at the most interesting thing, which I think is the long-short ratio here on CoinGlass, you can see retail got neutral at the wrong time. Now, when we were rolling over here, retail was mad buying the dip. Like, I remember there were 4-hour periods where retail got like bullish or even very bullish, or was it extremely bullish? I can't remember. And even some of the whales. So, as Jason and Michael always say, retail typically gets it wrong at the peaks. And yeah, longing and buying spot crypto right as we rally into resistance, and being very fearful down at the lows and shorting all the way up on all the higher lows. Is what it is. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. You can see smart money sentiment, for the most part, is now neutral as well. So it seems that smart money has closed out their longs, but they haven't quite entered shorts yet. So maybe Bitcoin tracks sideways for a few days, a few weeks, as a stock market puts in a bit of a rounding top maybe. As Jason and Michael always say, if I bring up the S&P 500, the S&P 500 typically likes to fill in gaps on low volume rallies. Now, if I turn on the volume, you can see the volume on the rally through here, on this chart looks fine. But I believe there was a chart that Jason and Michael were showing in their videos that showed very low volume. I can't replicate it. I'm not even going to try. But for starters, we've hit the +2 standard deviation band, which, if we have a look back at history, typically results in at least a pause, pullback, or consolidation for, weeks or even a month before price can go higher. But we do have this massive gap here, which we didn't really have in the last rally. And because all the moves through here were kind of filled, this gap through here was filled, I guess, through there. And yeah, this gap here, hasn't really been filled properly, in my opinion. So maybe we see a snapback to 6,600 points. Stock market makes a higher low and Bitcoin makes a lower low, because as Jason says, crypto can keep going lower as the stock market grinds higher in the last year of a bull market. Yeah, there's not much more I can say. Probably that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and goodbye.